Poka, your work is very much in this way linked to many of the same questions or many of the same opportunities and constraints as Magdalena was touching on. And I know you've been added to our program quite late, and thank you for jumping in like this. So maybe this might help position you, but I think it's a good chance to come in at this point rather than having questions, and we can have some comments after your intervention. I think that would be good. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone. Now I'm going to be sharing my screen. Before that, a few words about myself. I'm a visual artist, curator. I work as a consultant and a coach for the last 15 years. In those 15 years, some things happened in my life, like me and two fellow colleagues, Xenia Kalpaxoglu and Augustin Zenakos, initiated the Athens Biennale as a gesture towards creating something tangible for the Athenian art scene. And I'm currently associate professor in the School of Fine Arts for expanded media and head for visual culture in Onassis Foundation. My story, but the recent years and the recent years of the Athenian art scene through the lenses of the Athens Biennale. Can you see my shared screen? Can you see my shared screen?
Not yet, no.
Mm-hmm. No?
It's coming. Yes, we are there. Yes,
okay.
Thank you.
This is a very early on performance of mine during the years of the School of Fine Arts that was 1993. And as a young artist, I felt that what we are compelled to do is find our situation in the environment and also basically in the urban environment that was at that point started to formulate a very vibrant cultural environment in Athens. This is the Patission Avenue, a very central avenue in Athens, just outside of the School of Fine Arts. And this is another project that I did around that time in Lisbon and in Athens, in which I felt that we should start becoming political in our art. This is the only way to be relevant, is if we put our work out there in the public and start creating a dialogue that in a way goes beyond our very personal stories and very personal feelings and senses, and go to a place that we need to challenge the environment. Now, Lisbon and Athens share the same political history of turmoil, dictatorships, etc. So it was very important for me to start to figure out where am I standing. Jump cut to 2005, and 2005 was the time when Golden Dawn started getting a prominence in Athens, and this was my first major solo show in Athens, in which I focused exactly on this rise of fascism in the different areas of Athens. You can see there's a video on the left with a parade of Golden Dawn in the different suburbs of Athens. Back then it was just a notoriety. Golden Dawn was something quite marginal. But the role of the artist is to sense and maybe pin on all the things that we rather not see. Golden Dawn was a notoriety back in 2005, but then it got to such a prominence that it became a political party in the parliament. It raised a lot of issues to do an exhibition like that, using these fascist symbols. But these fascist symbols became like a subplot for the Athenian crisis of the last decade or so. Back in 2005, we were running this campaign and it was interesting to hear about place marketing and the branding of the country's branding by the fellow speakers. But, we had this kind of kids touristic campaign, Live Your Myth in Greece. Live Your Myth in Greece was what we condition ourselves to feel like being Greek. Being Greek means that you always have this heavy historical background, and then you're trying to set your current positioning, maybe in class with that. This kitschiness was the way that we perceived ourselves and that we wanted to be perceived. But that was, of course, totally superficial, because the undercurrent of that was a major crisis boiling in Athens, and something that was soon to explode. Me and the fellow colleagues that I spoke about before, we said that we'd rather do something for this. And you see that map with a pin. We said that the Athenian art scene is nowhere to be seen in the global, let's say, contemporary cultural map. It was something uninteresting, the same way that a small city, a small town, or a small village would be to the metropolises of the West. So we felt that our challenge was to step in and do the things that the state couldn't provide for us. And we chose a very used and tried way, which was to establish a biennial contemporary art exhibition in Athens. This is from the first conference that we had in the old Parliament of Greece, in order to launch the first Athens Biennale, which had the title "Destroy Athens." Destroy Athens, as for destroy the stereotypes. We are living, and basically we are devastated by the stereotypes around our history, as I said before. And the first thing, the first valid thing for a contemporary art initiative is to question their standing. Where are they standing? So destroying the stereotypes was the first quest of the Athens Biennale. The Athens Biennale was, you know, that the biennials have been used extensively from cities as a leverage for their development, for cultural development and urban development. We were just 3 individuals, so we didn't have that kind of stakes. We were trying to figure out what a biennial is, what a biennale is, and we, that much we knew. We understood that it was just a blown up exhibition. Blown up to this scale, like you see over here. This is a cultural complex, the gasworks of Athens, that was turned into a whole experience that was a linear process through different chapters. Some images of that. It was a huge maze created in this cultural complex. For the first time, this complex was open in its entirety for the public. It soon became viral because the city was boiling. So it was the first time that contemporary art managed to grasp the essence of its times. Therefore, many people started conspiracy theories about us being part of this circle of destruction, mayhem in the city, etc. The year is 2009, and hell broke loose already by 2008 and the crisis. We had already planned the second Athens Biennale under the title Heaven. Heaven was built for the first time as an experience. Culture and experience economy has been, of course, overly explored and exploited at the same time. But we clearly understood that an exhibition was far more than exhibiting the works. In that sense, we expanded in a very long area in the front of Athens, the front of Athens that is at the shore of Athens. Basically, the only way that there is some horizon to be seen, because Athens, you know, is a very narrow streets, rather gloomy place, but it has a very an amazing seafront. So the second Athens Biennale was expanded over 3 kilometers in the Athenian front, and we used the Olympic complex that was in Athalion that was not used even in the Olympic Games. It was never actually used for the public. It was a time that the crisis struck that hard that we found the phenomenon of having homeless people in Athens. We were never accustomed to see a part of a couple of figures of homeless people in Athens. All of a sudden, it was, the streets were flooded with homeless people. This is a performance that I did in the National Theatre. This is an exhibition again with the same theme. Athens started changing dramatically. 2011, I did a performance, anonymous performance in the city center, in which people came together silently in front of the parliament. A few weeks afterwards, more people started coming. It coincided with Indignados phenomenon happening in Barcelona. Barcelona also started having people out in the streets, Madrid the same. And then Athens had the same phenomenon. So it soon became a big tsunami kind of reaction against the situation. By that time, the Athens Biennale was almost broke. We have no resources, and we wanted to see where are we standing. So we started to do some works on the ground. We started using abandoned shops for a series of events, and that's how AB3, the Athens Biennale #3 Monodrome, took place. But in that time, we understood that we have to move further to experience, and we have to move towards engagement and have the people engaged and the audience engaged in what we are doing. Therefore, all these events, the hundreds of events that we did in the second Biennale, got in the middle of this exhibition that took place in a quite abandoned and neglected place in the center of Athens, a former industrial school of arts, of applied arts. Diplarius, now it's being used for cultural reasons. The use of the spaces, especially when you don't have the means, became something that was like a very a trademark of the Athens Biennale. The buildings themselves and the Athens itself became the background, but also the main protagonist of our exhibitions. At that time, Golden Dawn became that big party and that big force of fear in Athens. So everything that we did had to kind of address it directly. That's how the fourth Athens Biennale Agora was conceived. But in this time, we expected more than engagement. We were seeking participation. We chose the former stock exchange, which was a closed space, like a pantheon for the capital. And we took over this building, and a series of assemblies took place there. It was not just an exhibition, it was like the mirror of what was happening outside. You see again the derelict house, this gutted building, and how it kind of became a metaphor for the gutted Greek economy, the gutted Greek culture. After that, Omonia was the fifth edition of the Athens Biennale. It was a strange time. Again, the Athens Biennale had no resources to do that, still in crisis. We chose to start ideating ideas for the future. So move even further from participation. Participation was an experiment that was successful. Yes, we in the cultural sector can come together with activists and possibly intellectuals, and possibly think of a future. So the AB5 Omonia means concord. We can work together for a brighter future. So we chose Omonia Square. Omonia Square is like the heart of Athens. It's the same as Syntagma, two of the most central squares of Athens. We chose a derelict and closed hotel that's been never experienced by the public, at least the younger public, and where many assemblies took part. Now, I told you that our vision was to put Athens in the contemporary art map. That's what basically happened, because at that time is when Documenta 14 chose to take place in Athens and Kassel, and have also as partners. So for the first time, we saw, this is a German newspaper, we saw the pin that Athens has now become a cultural hub, a cultural European destination for contemporary culture. This is just an image for what happened in the hotel. Many other performances and events like these public events in the squares. A festive yet also defeated series of actions, because the cultural sector was so hardly bruised and beaten by the crisis that basically they couldn't afford to be as involved and for as long as it was needed. Therefore, that was the end of an experiment, and possibly the beginning of a new chapter, a future chapter. How to create this social reactor that the culture can be, let's say, the rotor behind it. The sixth Athens Biennale was like considered as an injection. We were numb after the crisis, but there's more of a crisis ahead of us. So we chose to create something like a slab, something like a visually striking slab in which the digital and the physical coincide. We chose very central buildings for that, already not used before, or being abandoned, like a hotel, like a former national communications mansion hall. And then performances like this. Johannes Paul Ratter was almost fined and taken by the police for doing the performance, and here's another performance by Panos Klavenitis. Creates something that is that creates the unsettlement to the audience. This is the use of the buildings, how we use them in many different ways. This is the Front Deutsche Apfel, a spoof militarized political party from Germany. You see the performative and the visual are now happening simultaneously in those buildings, very central buildings. This is a former shop in the center of Athens. Finally, at that point is when I got appointed as associate professor in the School of Fine Arts for expanded media, and I had to bring together this knowledge for artistic practice that intervenes in the city in a way that is also empathetic. Lab 12, the studio that I run in the School of Fine Arts, has the scope to redefine art practice. An art practice that can be anything from political interventions to poetry, to cooking, to whatever you may think. New practices that are basically not registered in the conscience of the public as tested. It should be experimental. And by redefining the arts education is the means to go forward. What will be art in the future? Are we going to be decorating our cities? What are we going to be doing? Personal development and based also in empathetic tools, community and the collective. That's very important, and also almost always neglected in the art schools. And multidisciplinary practice make the three columns of Lab 12. In which all these practices are being tested. Hopefully some of these artists will become the new artists that will take over initiatives like the ones that me and my generation did. using the city as a canvas, using the power of the collective to make a new front. Athens now is a vibrant metropolis, and also it's a metropolis for the arts. People are flooding to gain access, to create spaces, to participate in residences, etc. in Athens. A few other projects that we did is Ultraplane, a space for the arts in the center of Athens, also in the School of Fine Arts. And this laboratory for visual culture, we believe that we need to participate in the dialogue for what visual culture stands for nowadays. So we created this with the City of Athens, the Municipality of Athens, and the Onassis Foundation. It's in the center of Athens, very close to the school that we did the third Athens Biennale that you see on the right. So this is in the center. It's a space where the audience, the School of Fine Arts, creatives, artists are all make it's like a melting pot. We have exhibitions, talks, workshops, etc. And these are just some of the participants that have been visiting Lab 12 in just 1.5 years of its existence. This is my talk, and I'm very open to discuss and maybe exchange ideas of what Athens stands for now, how it has been transformed in the last 15 or so years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Poka. That was fantastic. And I mean, from somebody from a Nordic perspective who doesn't really understand how the urgency and the sense of importance of how cultural organization, a biennale, can actually not only reflect but engage with society, engage with the issues of the day, and maybe also form the issues of the day and find another way of approaching them. I think it's that parallel you had all the way through, and talking about the synergy and the conflictory was really very good, and very heartening as well. Also to see it ending as a kind of a laboratory for perhaps renegotiating the contract between society and culture, which is a new generation of artists who look at things in a very different way. So thank you for that.